Toleration, be the love. Before pride and exaltation, be the love. Be the love.
You are listening to Be the Love, transcending through the shadows into a higher state of consciousness. We are souls on the journey, opening up the conversation to heal, awaken, and connect ourselves and the planet to a higher vibration of love frequency. It starts with you. Everything you need is within you. This is your time. I am Stacy Musial.
And I am Sam Fernandez, and we are your co-hosts at Be the Love podcast. Thank you for tuning in and ascending with us. Hop on board the Ascension Bus.
I'm Lara from Light Coast by Lara. I'm the Tigers of the Light.
This is Brad Panopoulos.
Hi guys, this is Nina Sauer.
This is Dig with Sacred Fire Arts.
Namaste. My name is Istola Joy Davy, and you're listening to Be the Love podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Be the Love, Transcending Through the Shadows. I am Stacy Musial, your host and a soul on the journey. And thank you so much for tuning in this week. And if you've enjoyed listening to our show, we would absolutely be so grateful for a 5-star written review on iTunes. Reviews really help the show become more visible and spread the word to others. And if it feels safe for you, I'd like to begin by inviting you to take a moment and get centered with us. I'd like to begin by inviting you to take a beautiful cleansing breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, releasing anything that is keeping you from being present right now in this moment. And take another deep breath in through your nose, breathing in calm, peaceful, loving energy, and breathing out anything you are ready to release in this moment. And take one more breath in through your nose, breathing in light and love for yourself, and breathing out that light and that love and sending it to all of humanity, remembering that you always, always have your breath to come back to. Today, we have Sharon Harvey Alexander back to our show. Sharon is the director of Mountain Wisdom Wholistic Health and is on a mission to elevate well-being across the planet, one breath, one person at a time. Sharon is a longtime teacher and practitioner of yoga and meditation and has an undergraduate degree in clinical nutrition. She is an energy healer and Reiki master, Ayurvedic Yoga therapist, and breathing coach. Sharon aligns with and transmits Reiki energy, Pranic energy, Chi, and the energy of our guardian angels to assess and facilitate the removal of issues that have roots in the unseen galactic realms. Sharon is also the author of the widely selling book, Learning to Breathe, Learning to Live, Simple Tools to Alleviate Stress and Invigorate Your Life. So welcome back, Sharon.
Thank you so much, Stacy. It's such a wonderful podcast that you're putting out into the world every week, and I am just honored and thrilled to be back and to connect with you in this way. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so wonderful to have you back here. And for those of you who are interested in listening to Sharon's previous episode, you can find that on season 1, episode 3 on healing with breathwork. And so Sharon, tell us a little bit for those listeners who are not aware of what you've been up to so far, or a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your path for those who are not familiar.
My path. Okay. I think it's fair if we go all the way back to the beginning of this lifetime. I think it's fair to say that I came into the world curious, sensitive, and creative. And those qualities weren't necessarily supported by my environment. So I learned to hide them away, maybe even dampen them down somewhat in those beginning years. another piece that factors into who I am today is the fact that I fell in love with a big, furry brown horse, which I was fortunate to have in my life from about the age of 9 to about the age of 15 and a half. And when I think about it, I'm pretty sure my parents agreed to buy the horse. I didn't ask for it. I think it was something that came from them and from their community, and we shared it with another family at first. And my father, certainly, who grew up, a native of Colorado, agricultural farming background, probably thought it would teach me responsibility as well, which indeed it did. And I certainly have an uber sense of responsibility now as an adult. But being on the back of that horse also instilled in me a love of an appreciation for freedom and independence. I spent hours, hours when I could, every day, every week, months, years on the back of that horse, often out in nature, unencumbered by to-do lists and responsibilities, and just connecting with the water that flowed through the canal that we rode by, the air that brushed my skin, my hair, the warmth of the sun, the beautiful trees growing along the shores of this waterway, as well as the steadiness, the stability of the earth. I really connected with those elements, even though I didn't realize it at the time. And that is one of the reasons that my work as an Ayurvedic yoga therapist is so profound now, because Ayurveda is all about looking at how these different elements, earth, water, air, fire, space, play out in our unique constitution. So one of the things that I think a superpower of mine is the ability to see you and to see how that interaction of nature, of the experiences we have on this earth, play out in or are impeded by our lifestyle and the choices that we make in any given moment. And so I've just had a lot of fun since discovering yoga when I turned 30. I stepped onto a yoga mat for the first time. It felt like I had come home. And it wasn't really it wasn't yoga. Yoga can be a great fitness regime. I embarked on it to complement a very active physical life. I was a ski racer. I was a long distance bicycle rider. I climbed a lot of mountains. And so yoga was great as a complement to that, but it was the breath, and it was the philosophy, the lifestyle, the way of living that is espoused deep within the sacred texts that I was fortunate to study as I chose to deepen my practice, my study and practice of yoga, so that I could read those books and really immerse myself. So that was important to me in my 30s and 40s, into my 50s. And the Ayurveda piece, Ayurveda being the medical arm of yoga. So looking at how we can heal, or how we can, when we live in alignment with nature, we experience greater levels of health. So I loved that, having this clinical nutrition background. Ayurveda is about diet, the idea that what we put in our bodies influences us. It's not just the food we eat, but how much and when and seasonally, and how it's cooked. And then there's the whole idea about energy and how that influences everything around us, including what we choose to take in through our 5 senses. So it's fair to say my work has brought me full circle from, starting life in this creative, curious, sensitive place, coming back and seeing how those can actually be beneficial qualities that allow me to work with others and help to lift them up when they are experiencing challenges physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. That's where my work is going now, is more into that realm of the unseen and how we can, how we can let that support us in being our best self as well.
So thank you for sharing that journey. It just sounds like all the right pieces came into play when as needed, right? There's no accidents. It sounds like it was very synchronistic for you.
Exactly.
And so that's really beautiful. So tell, I know you mentioned just having some current realizations and kind of where that's leading you now, especially like in those unseen realms. So tell us a little bit about that, those realizations that you're coming to, those new insights.
Absolutely. So for a long time, I think it's fair to say I was very oriented to the physical body, to the experiences we have in these bodies, right? We have these wonderful senses. We can feel, touch things. We can smell things. We can taste things. And of course, we can see things. And more over the years, I have wanted to direct those senses toward beautiful things, right? To see beauty, to hear beauty, to speak beauty, right? To just be kind and loving, and here we are on Be the Love podcast. I think that it's a level of consciousness that we can all choose to engage with the world around us through loving means, loving eyes, loving touch, whatever that might be. As I've done that, it has deepened in me the realization that there really is this unseen force all around us that only wants the best for us and that has our back. It's been a desire of mine several years ago to just know that there was this energy that had my back. And I guess by setting that intention, by expressing that desire, having the question, it's so interesting. What's popping into my head right now is that quote, and I don't know if it's Rumi, I don't know who said, ask the question and live into the answers, right? We don't need the answer right now, but if we can be open to things revealing themselves to us, like you said, Stacy, that synchronistic expression of life through us, it's great to be in these bodies and to be having these experiences, and there is so much more. Did I even get to answer your question?
I think there's a lot to unpack there. It's very profound too, because, okay, so that whole idea of that, the asking the question and being open to the answer, because it's more of working with spirit, working with the energies that are around us rather than this duality of the 3D thinking where there's an either or. It's we might not know what that answer is. We don't have to know, but we can allow that to come to us and be in this flow with it. It sounds like that's what you're explaining, what you're talking about.
Yeah, thank you. You've put that into wonderful words, right? Sometimes it's hard to find the words that describe these profound or etheric or ascending experiences, right? And so I appreciate that. And through my work, so I'll share how I came into Reiki. So the yoga thing, stepped onto a yoga mat, learned about Ayurveda, realized that was really the perfect area of study for me with the background that I had educationally. And, my father was a veterinarian, and I probably worked in every aspect of his practice, including helping with surgery and different things there. So Ayurvedic yoga therapy is a wonderful expression of my background, my skills, and my talents. But knowing, having a sense that there was more than what we experience through the five senses, and wanting to actually feel the support of divine energy is what has been driving me, or guiding me, I should say, over the last handful of years, at least. And so I want to say a few things of that about the unseen world. But first, another piece of background. I chose to climb Mount Kilimanjaro for my 50th birthday, which was an amazing experience. I'm someone who has to do things a little differently than the masses. So I decided I wanted to spend the night on top, which an Everest type climber friend of mine said was a very big challenge. I would be taking on only 1% of anyone who summits the mountain does that, blah, blah, blah. And I did it with my husband, the two of us. I'm so glad I did. Not only that, I really tried not to go out of the tent that night because I was exhausted, and every movement took incredible amounts of energy at 19,000 feet. I really had to pee. So I went out, I stepped out, and I was awestruck literally by how close the stars were. It was like I could reach out and touch the stars. I could swirl my hand and craft, a piece of art. And it was amazing. So I did my business. I walked over very slowly, took my time to seat myself on a rock and just immerse myself. But really I was absorbed into the energy of the stars, of this brilliant, clear, dark sky punctuated by these lights. And as I sat and allowed myself to be held, it really felt like I was being held. But once again, like on the yoga mat, I was being called home, or I was being, there was a connection to source that was different than anything I'd experienced. And there was a message that came to me that said, everything in your past that has led to this moment has been perfect, has been exactly what you needed to experience in the physical body, and is the reason that you are here on earth, is to know, is to trust, is to be one with that divine energy. And to trust. I think that was the hard thing for me for many, many years, is to trust that we really are all here, one, to feed back information to source, if you will, and two, to enjoy being in these physical bodysuits. There's so much that can get in the way of that joy. And it's so delightful when we can let go and merge with that experience.
Absolutely. Wow, that sounds like just a profound experience. I just have this visual of, painting in the stars and just, crafting, it's just, that sounds like so beautiful. So tell us a little bit, like how can we tap into that unseen realm for those of, people who maybe struggle from, being in the physical body to be, trusting, what's outside of, or not outside of them, but within them, but, the unseen realms that are there.
Absolutely. And I think, you said it very well, outside of us and also within us, right? Because that universal energy, I fully believe it's source energy. I believe our source, that we all have come from that star dust, if you will, and that there's information coming to us from that realm all the time. So yes, it comes into us, and it is around us, and we can become one with it. The idea for me is I mean, this, there are all these sort of phrases that we in this healing arts realm, I guess, if you'd say, hear all the time, but I truly believe that we are spirit embodied. And so it's like if we were to go to the moon or to go to Mars, we would need to put on a spacesuit, right, in order to breathe and function and all of that. And so it's like our spirit, our soul came to Earth, and we have put on these bodysuits. And there's so much more about that. Even so, my work now is reaching out into the galactic world to look at the influences on the individual as they make that journey from source to Earth into the physical bodysuit. So there could be, we could have reasons in mind of why we're challenged in life. It could be belief systems passed down from generations. It could be negative stories we were told as children. It could be trauma, abuse, whatever it is. And that's all true. And that can certainly limit can negatively influence our ability to trust the unseen world and want to control everything. What I'm wanting to do is get to the source and alleviate pain at the source now, rather than work with symptoms that come up in this physical bodysuit. And so I might reach out into this broader starlight arena, if you will, to look at the path that a soul has taken to come into their particular bodysuit at this particular time and alleviate the imbalances at that level, if you will. It's like there are ties or strings or contracts in the unseen world that need to be undone in order for us to thrive. Not everyone, we all have, and so that's the work. So I'm working really to remove the limitations one might experience at the source versus addressing the symptoms over and over and over. We are spiritual beings that have come into a human body suit. And there's this whole idea that the earth has been created as a place where we have the power to manifest what is unseen. And that might be another conversation, but
yeah, absolutely.
I'll stop talking
So I agree. Like, it's time. We're not about, I guess, moving through the symptoms, because symptoms are always going to be there, right? And if we keep putting out those fires or addressing the symptoms, we're never going to get to the root. And so getting to the root sounds like it's part of a lot of the work that you're doing right now with the energetic unseen realms, and maybe clearing out some of those old contracts or ties that people might have to other maybe beings, it sounds like. I'm guessing, but
yes,
I don't think you said that, but so tell us a little bit more about that. How can one know that they have contracts or ties to other realms or galactic beings or people even, or places? Yeah.
Beautiful. I think when someone struggles, you want to look at that, right? Any kind of struggle, let's look at it. And it could be something through the elements that we have here on Earth. It could be something, in the mental, emotional approach to living in this human bodysuit. And there are many great ways to address that. But if something is not improving, or someone continues to struggle or suffer in pain, after having spent time in therapy, after having, gotten their body back into shape, or, explored what exercise can do for the human bodysuit, after changing up diet and those kinds of things, if they're still struggling, that's something to look at. And that's when, working with someone who can delve into these unseen realms may be helpful in eliminating the cause of the imbalance or the pain or the disease.
Right. And so if someone were to recognize that pattern, what would they need to do to start helping to release some of those patterns or those contracts?
Great. I'm finding that release, it's really about what is unconscious becoming conscious, right? Bringing those patterns into form. And that is another, this could be a huge discussion, but really Earth, we are here on Earth in order to manifest our dreams. Energy is very light, ethereal at the highest levels. And as it comes down from source to Earth, it goes through a densification process, right? And we have gravity and we have Earth, which is the dense, the mud and the dirt, and, hold us to the Earth. I think of gravity as the Earth hugging us to her. And so anywhere along that pathway, there could be something that comes in to create an imbalance that is then manifested in this lifetime. And through, I know you just came out of a fabulous week of meditation experiences where that we can step beyond sort of the experience of the physical body, even the mental, emotional, and go into those higher realms. And that really is about letting our energy return to source, letting ourselves start to vibrate, start to raise our vibration back up. While being fully grounded here on Earth, we can also know that we can also ask for the unseen to be revealed, because that is one of the purposes of this planet, of Earth, with her gravitational pull, is that, and then there's the law of personal choice. So what you desire, what you ask for, can take physical form on this planet, and you can begin to see what it is that is limiting you in any way, be that physical pain, mental, emotional struggle. Start to unravel the contracts, the ties that bind, essentially. And that's really my work, is to guide, to facilitate, to go into those unseen realms and be there with you as you are unraveling it. For people who truly want to let go and move beyond and claim a wonderful, beautiful life.
I love that. And so you mentioned too that we're all here to really live our dreams, right? And then to, raise the vibration. So can you talk a little bit about that and even how that might be connected and what that looks like?
Yes, I would say my experiences with yoga, breath work, qigong, having received acupuncture, working with the meridians and things through EFT, and that I've begun to understand how energy flows through the human bodysuit. And I've become more sensitive to when there are blocks to that energy. And so I think it's really about all of us learning to listen and also taking time to be quiet, to connect inward, and to receive a download, if you will, from home, from the place from which we all originated, which is slightly different for each person, And only you can do that work, really, ultimately, by getting quiet, taking time to turn in, and being open to receiving guidance, understanding, insights that may not come in a typical day when you're busy, 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 or just exploring the world through the 5 physical senses. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And so it sounds like really just being attuned to our being present with who right now, and rather than like that busyness, but really staying centered and present with what is right now. And so when someone is coming into the present moment, what are some things they can do to vibrate at higher levels?
And I'd like to acknowledge that it can be uncomfortable for people to come into the present moment if they've been scared or traumatized in any way at the time. So I believe that our breath is a link in, and I'd be happy to guide a short practice with that tool. I would say awareness of breath, how we are breathing in any given moment, can be a really great indicator of how present we are. And through that, through trusting the breath and trusting the quiet that might arise, even though our mind might have a lot of chatter, we notice the busyness of the mind as we go inward and become quiet. We can move to a higher level by just using the breath. And then it's like everything falls away and we enter that space where we are one with everything and we are no thing. That the void, that they refer to it in Buddhism. And it's just about learning. So I would say baby steps as we move into this and grow our comfort level with not knowing, with giving up the need for specific outcomes, the need to even have expectations. We give all that up and then we become one with a bigger energy that holds us and only intends the very best for us.
It's really about letting go of control.
Absolutely, which I know is so very hard for so many people. And that is what it is. Totally.
So how do we do that?
How do we do that? That's why I keep coming back to the breath. I think it is a fabulous barometer, if you will. You start to feel the breath. You start to manipulate the breath, if you will. You start to allow the breath. I mean, this is the work that I do with many, many individuals, is to guide them into deepening a relationship with their breath, into creating an intimacy with life force, because that is, that is spirit flowing through us. That is our connection to all that is. And it can seem so simple and so boring, and yet be so profound when we let go and just see what's possible, see what it feels like, and move deeper and deeper into that experience with the life force energy that is flowing through us all the time and can be enhanced through the breath.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned, and I know I've mentioned on other podcasts too, that I spent 36 hours in meditation last week with a Joe Dispenza advanced workshop, very profound experience. And, one of the breaths that he's been teaching for years, and I just got a really good opportunity to perfect this breath, was the just pulling the mind out of the body breath is what he calls it, I believe. And so it's just all about like really locking those bottom 3 centers, the lower 3 chakra centers, and then bringing the breath all the way up to the pineal gland, and then just allowing that and holding that, and then pumping your energy until that pineal gland like opens up and, creates this euphoria. euphoria. And so it was so powerful. But when you did that, it was like you received this like amazing energy that was just so profound and lasting, and felt so like I was vibrating at this very, very high level. And so, and then, it was just, but how much the breath, how much real, attention, or, how much power the breath has, for
Absolutely.
us. And then when we tap into that, because a lot of people, I think we tend to hold on to emotions, and, through contracting our breath and constricting, our breathing, and holding it down. And because that's the first thing that goes when someone experiences a trauma, right? The breath, they hold on, and they're holding on and holding on. And, when we start to let that flow again, I think it can help that staying in the present moment, and then also releasing some of those trapped emotions. And so I know that's a lot of the work you do as well. It sounds
so great, Stacy. First of all, that you had that profound experience, and I love how he's guiding that. And I think what you've mentioned, people holding their breath when scared or, experiencing something traumatic, that's an unconscious response, right? That's part of it's part of the sympathetic nervous system that shuts things down, so that our essential energy can be directed into running away or fighting back, right? Or freezing and getting small so that we aren't noticed, and whatever it is can move beyond us. So those are learned behaviors, but I think people aren't aware of how that's affecting their breath. And maybe a lot of people, in our circles, yes, people have this awareness, but I think for the general public, aren't even aware of how important the breath is, and how just a few simple changes to how you are breathing moment by moment can have a profound effect on the physical body, the mind, the emotions, and also then connect us into this bigger energy that we're talking about, and help our vibration, our energy level to stay high. So, baby steps, and it's a lifetime. It's an experience that can last a lifetime and have tremendous benefits here and in the unseen world as well. I think it's the link between the two, really.
Yeah. And I agree, because the breath is the one thing that brings us back to the present moment and helps us to release trapped emotions or thoughts or, sensations. And so I'm, wondering too, because I do a lot of work with trauma with some of my clients. And so, a lot of people, they do struggle with finding their breath, right? It can actually lead to a traumatic response. And so, and I think that's a lot, maybe people that are, maybe in the general public that might struggle with, what does it mean to be in the present moment? What does it mean to come to my breath and take a deep breath? And so what are some things that you would recommend for someone where to start with that?
First, I'd like to pick up on something I heard you say, which is people struggle to breathe well, is how I'm interpreting a little bit of what you just said. And if they have been abused, or for instance, my mother always told me to hold my stomach in, right? She had an athletic background, but also aesthetic, and, women to have this figure or whatever it is. And so from an early age, we probably learned to be tight, right? The 6-pack ab or whatever in the belly. And so that's something that we culturally could unravel in order to breathe more effectively. I think of indigenous cultures, Africa or whatever, and the women are revered for round curves and big bellies and their ability to dance and, just let life flow through them. So letting go. And then the other piece that popped up was this concept of it's reverse breathing, paradoxical breathing. And that is that we tense up when we inhale. That is a stress response, a trauma response. And it has to do with this tight belly thing, not wanting to take in a whole lot of life right then, wanting to get small, wanting to shrink away. And over time, that can become a pattern in the body that needs to be unraveled. It's actually a medical term, the paradoxical breathing. So there's a lot to unravel in people who struggle to find comfort in a simple breathing practice. I also know that there are a lot of things happening around breath work in the world. I had a client recently find me online. She was doing some breath work with someone who was no longer practicing post-COVID, wanted some hands-on work, came in to see me. And what she was doing was actually exacerbating her PTSD. So I think breath work is great, and we can jump into breath work workshops and retreats and things. But again, if we don't have the basic mechanics down, and if we're not comfortable with the very basic mechanics, how a stress relieving breath flows in the body, how the muscles respond, how the cells respond, how the physiology responds, we've got to dial that in at the beginning. And so really with this woman, we're unraveling some things before taking it deeper so that she'll be comfortable and she can learn to trust her body's responses and discern, when she's uptight and holding, or when she's more relaxed and surrendering into the experience.
So do you recommend a breathing coach or someone that can help facilitate that to someone with that level of trauma?
Absolutely, I do. I think someone who's trained in the mechanics of breathing, and has a sensitivity to the experience of the individual, can help them unwind some things before they jump into some kind of more profound breath work experience. Yes, I think it's important. I really think it's important to start at the beginning, essentially, and to assess. So one of the things I do is just assess how someone is breathing. And then if they want more information, we can take that deeper. But just helping them to unravel some patterns that are keeping the stress response going in their body, keeping the sympathetic nervous system firing, even when, like, someone might say, just take a deep breath, or just breathe and let it go. And that's not really easy for someone who's been abused or, experienced some violent situations. That's, it needs to be unpacked, if you will, slowly and tenderly.
Absolutely. Yeah. I like to think of that as just kind of peeling back that layer of the onion, because there are those layers that you need to work through before someone might have access to that breath, or feel safe. And so, or even feel safe in their body, let alone connected to their breath. But, what does their overall body feel like to them?
And Stacy, you bring up a good question. Would you send someone with severe trauma, PTSD, to a breath coach? We talked earlier about addressing symptoms versus really getting to the root, getting to the cause and eliminating the source of trouble, if you will. And so that's where I'm going now. And I might work with different modalities. And I'm working in the unseen world, and they may never even know about it. So it's sort of like a Reiki energy treatment. There may be some breath work woven in. But from my perspective, I'm up here playing in the starlight, right? And drawing a script for a higher vibe life, if you will, for for the individual, for the people I'm working with.
Mm.
And that, I think, it can be taught, it can be learned. We can all experience that. But I also want to offer that to people who are struggling and haven't found relief with different modalities.
Sure. So it sounds like you are not only working with someone and helping them maybe work with their breath, but you're also helping move energy that might be stuck in that process.
And breath is energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
To
Mm-hmm.
inspire in spirito is to, take in spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more completely we can breathe in, right? Breathe in this life, or breathe out what no longer serves us, right? The more there is to merge with or be absorbed into as we let go. So it's a dance, a beautiful dance. And sometimes I want to think that it can happen instantaneously with our intention, because that's really what Earth is about, is manifesting our intentions with the support of spirit, source, the unseen world.
So you mentioned that earlier. So I'd like to ask, what, tell us a little bit about what your take is on manifesting and how we can work with the energies to create the life of our dreams.
Yeah, wonderful. What a great question. This is so fun.
I love this.
So what I'm learning with my spiritual teacher, what I'm becoming more familiar with is the universal laws. There's like Louise Hay stuff, or I don't know, different things. Abraham, I guess I'm thinking of too. But really, so from this perspective, I'm opening up to, as I mentioned, earth and gravity and this densification of energy coming from starlight down to earth. That is, let's say that's the Maha manifestation, right? The great manifestation, in that the unseen is taking form. And I know that you have a yoga background too, Stacy. The idea in that tradition, and there are 6 different philosophies of manifestation in the yoga world, but the one that I like or am most familiar with is that idea of Shiva and Shakti. But there's the Parama Shiva, which is this inert, dense, immovable source energy. So this is the yoga perspective, and I'm really growing into a slightly different perspective that's above or beyond or more ethereal. But anyway, Shiva Shakti, and Shiva, the creative, the feminine, dancing energy into formation, right? We have our yoga poses, we have mudras, we have points in the body we can press into to get energy to flow in certain ways. That's all yoga, Ayurveda, philosophy, acupuncture, Chinese medicine. But yes, and so the laws on this planet are that we have the power to manifest that which we can envision in order to discern between all good and anything that gets in the way of that. That's really the purpose of Earth and our experience on it. And so if you craft an intention statement, for instance, and you repeat it and you visualize it. One of the practices I've led over the years is yoga nidra, the idea that we seed the subconscious with these positive intentions, visualizations, affirmations, and that which gets in the way of us realizing that bubbles up over time and can be released. So that's kind of this idea that we are here on earth to manifest what we might envision in order to discern, in order to recognize the good, because source is all good and our experience can be all good. Or here for this podcast, let's call it all love, right? Let's call it be the love.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it become the love, or come from the love, or love is all there is. And when we're on this earth, if we can spend time visualizing that and calling that into being, it will happen. That's one law, the law of manifestation. And the other law that works in harmony with that is the law of personal power, right? That we all are powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, we've received messages that tell us, oh, don't get too powerful, don't get too smart for your britches, or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But that's another reason we're here, is to just live our truth and live in harmony with this source energy and let things come into formation so we can decide, does it serve us, does it not? And it's beyond duality, right? It's beyond love or hate or good or bad. It's all that is. And it's all that is only good. Is that getting...
Beautiful. So like really just tapping into the energy of the omnipresent, the love energy that is all around us, that is within us, and recognizing that we are truly, truly sovereign. I mean, we have the power to create whatever we want. And so with that said, how do you find that it's better for someone to be specific, to say this is what I want, versus I'm open to opportunities to flow my way?
Yeah, I think we don't want to get too specific, because then the universe, then source, then the angels, the spirit guides, the divas can't do their work, right? So I think we want to be global, and yet, so whatever you align, you run it through the heart, and really you run it through the solar plexus. Women, so those of us who have incarnated into female bodysuits have along the way had our connection to source dismantled, and really that was to come through the solar plexus. So reclaiming our sovereignty, the word you use, right? Our connection to this greater energy, and then setting the intention, but also being open to letting things unfold as they will. The third law is personal. So I said personal power, I said law of manifestation. I guess I was going to also bring up willpower, which is sort of like personal power. And then the idea of reciprocity, right? As we give out good, as we work for good in the world, as we cultivate good in our lives, it comes back like a boomerang, right? It goes out and it comes back, and it comes back even greater. All of this requires a level of trust, a level of undoing, and being willing to open up into our greatness. And I know that's not easy. I'm 60 years old, and I'm just coming into this over in the last decade after my experience on Kilimanjaro. So yeah.
So it's, I mean, those key words there, trust, right? Letting go. Those are huge to really, align with that energy, because when we align with the energy and we trust that the universe has our back and that it's going to flow where it needs to go, maybe having an idea of what we want to do. But sometimes people, maybe there's not an idea. They're not sure what they want next. And so, but allowing maybe new opportunities to flow their way and opening up to new possibilities.
I think just being open, as you said, right? And not forcing it or not getting disappointed if something's not happening fast enough.
Yeah.
But trusting also, some of it is knowing, having heard this, like this conversation is great for people to listen to, and then just find your comfort level with it. And maybe a little bit every day or, every few months, you just, okay, spirit, what messages shall I, what do you want me to notice now?
Yeah.
For me, there's numbers, synchronicity in numbers, other symbols that come along that tell me that I'm on the right path. Things are lined up.
Absolutely. And then another point that I wanted to make too is that, when there's that sense of maybe control and having a hard time, maybe letting go of some of that, that's where I think the breath, feeling that into the body, where do you feel that in the body? And then breathing into that and breathing, allowing that energy to move, and then breathing in the flow or breathing in trust. And I think that's been a really beautiful, profound practice, simple practice that I've done over the years that has been, just really life altering and being able to let go, because the body is holding on to all that energy. And so when you can let that go and move with the body's energy, then you can really allow yourself to be a little bit more open.
Yes. Good. And then coming back to that word sovereignty, I think that's so important, that we recognize that we have a choice in any given moment of who we want to interact with, of how we want to interact with what's going on, of where we want to take things. And, really it's up to us. And for whatever reason, we may have been taught to give that up, especially as women. So reclaiming that. Yeah. And I think, again, the breath can be one's best friend, right? It can be a long lost connection to guidance from above or, or within. Really, yeah.
Absolutely. And so that's probably a really great segue. I'm wondering if you could provide a guided practice for our listeners today.
Let's do it.
All
that would be great. And we'll keep it brief. Let's do it. Let's see where it goes.
Wonderful.
All right. Good. So I encourage everyone to just take a moment and like Stacy guided us in the very beginning, take a big breath in through your nose, sigh it out through the mouth. And let's do that 2 more times at your own pace, in your own way. Big breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Let it go. And a 3rd time. Beautiful, beautiful. Soften your eyes. If it's comfortable, you can close them or turn your gaze down. Disengage from the world around you for a moment if that feels safe. If you're sitting, just uncross your legs, uncross your hands. Let the energy in your body flow down as your feet find rest on the floor and your seat finds rest in the chair. And acknowledge, for the time being, you are in a place that is safe, and if you can be uninterrupted, it's great. When you're ready, just express gratitude first here in the very beginning. Gratitude for your human bodysuit, for this beautiful body you have come into for this lifetime. Gratitude for that energy from source that flows into the body, that experiences the world through the senses. And is it possible to acknowledge that there is something bigger surrounding you, maybe even holding you, maybe even flowing through you? And when you are ready, shift your attention to your breath. No need to manipulate it in any way. Simply begin to follow your breath. Connect with your breath as it moves out, as it moves back in to your body. If it's comfortable, I always encourage people to nose breathe. There are many, many benefits to nose breathing as often as you can, in as many different situations as you can. So breathing through the nose now, if that's comfortable for you, without struggling, without striving to do this, just allow breath to flow in a way that is most comfortable for you. And then, if you will, start to follow each exhalation. Start to follow each breath all the way out. And perhaps notice or imagine energy flowing down toward the earth as you exhale. It may feel as if you are growing heavier, perhaps more still in your seat. Maybe you notice the support underneath you, following each breath out. Follow it to the end. And let the breath turn around and come in on its own, filling you up as you inhale, emptying you out as you exhale. Following the breath all the way out to the end. Each time, perhaps there's a pause at the end of the exhalation where the breath turns around and comes back in through the nose, filling you up from the inside out like a balloon or a ball, being filled with breath when you inhale and emptied when you exhale. So as you exhale, is it possible to let go of resistance, to let go of any unnecessary holding in the body, to let go of the busyness of the mind, any thoughts that might enter? Just allow them to flow back out as you breathe out. And as you breathe in, imagine energy penetrating from above through the crown of your head, energy moving into and expanding in your body as you breathe in, letting that go. And maybe it's flowing down, down, down toward the earth as you exhale. As the breath turns around, your awareness might come back to the crown, to the top, the space above, filling up with life force, with pranic energy, source energy when you inhale, letting it go, emptying out as you exhale. The breath moving in, moving into the heart center, expanding the heart center. The breath as it comes in, moving from crown through throat to heart and into the solar plexus, the area at the base of the ribs. Moving out, and yawning is natural. Yawning is a sign of release, a sign of letting go. Breathing in, filling up. Breathing out, letting go. Sink your attention into the belly now. Is it possible to soften your belly? Even if you have strong six-pack abs, some part of the belly, maybe deep inside, can begin to soften and expand when you inhale and contract to help expel the air from the lungs when you exhale. Begin to soften and move your belly as you breathe, if that's comfortable for you now. And now we'll shift our attention to spirit. Just imagine the possibility of being supported and held in a circle of guardian energy. I am calling in spirit guides, the devas of nature, all benign and loving energy in the seen and unseen world. As we imagine a circle of this protective, life-enhancing, beneficial energy surrounding us, surrounding you. And in this circle, in this cocoon of protection and love, breathing in all that is good. As you breathe in, with each inhalation, imagining only good, loving energy moving into your body, penetrating the organs, the joints, tendons and bones, penetrating the cell. And as you breathe out, imagine that it's easy, it's effortless to release any sense of limitation, any sense of lack, judgment, self-doubt, emptying out, dissipating, melting away as you exhale, held in a circle, a cocoon of loving energy. You are breathing in all that is good, breathing in love, breathing out anything that gets in the way of absorbing, connecting with, being that. And shifting now to breathing in love, pausing for it to circulate through the body before you exhale, and releasing, sending that love back out into the world, pausing to empty, to let go before it comes back into you, ricocheting back to you, that which you have released, breathing out love, coming back to you tenfold, penetrating every part of your physical bodysuit, your mental, emotional self, saturating the auric field around you with loving energy and light. Releasing that back out into the world to be used as it can be for only good. And you receive it once again as you breathe in. Now, ask. Open to the question or the intention. Stay with the breath. Stay in this state. And ask that you are aligned with the eternal flow of divine energy. Allow, know, and trust that pranic energy, life force, source is flowing through you, aligning through your energy centers. And know that your spirit guides are lifting you higher, breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in love and pausing, breathing it out and letting it go. Your spirit guide, source energy is holding you and lifting you higher, cleansing your auric field and raising your vibration, carrying you out of this dense and limited sense of self. You may now intend that your consciousness, your reality, your vibration aligns only with source energy, and that anything that gets in the way of that is inactivated and released. You may ask your divine spiritual team to transform, heal, remove anything that might prevent you from receiving source energy. Stay with the breath. Some of you may feel as if you are merging with, becoming, as if you are indeed that source energy, flowing through the human bodysuit, flowing all around you. Lifting you higher, even as you are rooted to Mother Earth. Enjoy your breath for just a few more moments. If you would like to stay longer, you may turn this off and continue. For now, I invite you to slowly bring your awareness back by deepening your breath, by sensing into your physical body suit, by offering love, expressing love for yourself. Maybe wrap your arms around you. Just appreciate who you are and where you are and how you are, and whatever your experience was, it's all just fine and just as it was meant to be. Come back slowly now, and I'll count to 5 to invite you all the way back into this present moment, starting now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we are back.
That was absolutely beautiful. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for providing that. I just feel so connected right now, just really centered, and thank you.
Thank you,
you.
Stacy. Thank you so much. And this is a great
Yeah.
place to say adios. This was wonderful, unless there are any more
Well,
comments.
tell our listeners what you are currently working on and how they can find you.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I have actually created a program that is 8 sessions. It's a protocol. I call it the mountain climbing protocol. My business is Mountain Wisdom Wholistic Health, and And really, it's about climbing up out of this dense energy that holds so many of us to the earth, right? And looking around us and exploring and enjoying, learning to enjoy our life from that higher perspective, from the mountaintop.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 8 weeks. It's $880, and anyone can start that at any time. So that's one thing I'm doing. And yeah, I'm just continuing to, if you will, release the shackles and absolutely appreciate being here and being grounded into the earth energy. And at the same time, reaching higher and higher into my potential, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, on all levels, without expectation, without working to achieve, or really without ambition, I have to say. That's what COVID helped me shed, is any ambition around this. So, I have skills and abilities and things to offer. And if someone's interested, reach out to me. Okay. My website is www.mountainwisdomwholistic.health.com.
And we can add that to the show notes, as well as the course information. So that's something we can add in for sure. So, well, thank you, Sharon, for being here with us and sharing the space to have this beautiful conscious conversation. And thank you for listening to our show. Stay tuned for more episodes being released on Mondays at 5:55 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And if you've enjoyed listening to our show, we'd be so grateful for a 5-star written review on iTunes. And of course, please share the love by sharing it with your friends. And if you want to support the work that we're doing, please consider making a donation to our show by visiting our Patreon website at patreon.com/Be the Love Podcast. And until next time, love yourself, love each other, and love the world. Love you guys. We at Be the Love Podcast are honored to be supporting the Commodity Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization in Uganda that is working to build a school that will promote and support healthcare, education, skills development, feeding the hungry, human rights, and environmental defenders. Their goal is to work with young mothers and single mothers, street children, and vulnerable families who lack nurture as they guide them to become productive individuals, which will lead to a productive generation. Please see our show notes on how to become a donor, mentor, volunteer, or sponsor.
Thank you, Heather Lynn, for providing us with your beautiful song to accompany our show, Be the Love. If you would like to learn more about Heather Lynn and her music, please visit her website at heatherlynnmusic.com. And thank you, Chrissy Grace at Leading Edge Productions, for the beautiful design and graphics.
And thank you for tuning in. And until next time, we are souls on the journey. And thank you for hopping on the Ascension bus with us. And remember, there is always a seat for you.